It Gets Real with Carenna. Each week, Carenna will discuss serious topics and is not shy to tell you how it is. On her show, she covers day-to-day situations and provides her opinion along with feedback from her listeners.
Hey y'all, welcome back to It Gets Real with Carenna, where we have real conversations about real life, real healing, real faith, and everything in between. And today, I want to talk about something that I know someone listening right now can relate to, and that is getting weary in your waiting. Waiting on a relationship, waiting on your career to finally take off, waiting on your business to become what you know God showed you it could be, waiting on your finances to change, waiting on your life to finally feel like it's moving forward. And if I'm being completely honest, waiting can get exhausting because sometimes it's not that you don't trust God. Sometimes you're just tired. You've prayed, you've cried, you've worked, you've tried again, you've started over, you've gotten your hopes up, and then somehow you find yourself right back in the waiting room and you start asking God, Lord, how much longer? Have you ever been there where you're not necessarily giving up on God, but you're getting tired of waiting on the promise? Because there's a difference. And I think sometimes we make people feel guilty for admitting that they're tired. We tell them, just have faith. And yes, have faith. But faith doesn't mean you never get tired. Faith doesn't mean you never cry. Faith doesn't mean you never question what's taking so long. Faith means that even when you're tired, you still choose to believe that God is working. And today, I want to talk about what happens when you're weary and you're waiting. Let's start with relationships because, woo, baby, I done been through some things, okay? With relationships. I've had so many trials and tribulations with the dating in my life and also with my relationships. I haven't had many relationships, but I've had the opportunity to date a few people. And when I tell you, it has not been pleasant, okay? I mean, that waiting can be a different kind of waiting. You've watched other people fall in love. You've watched people get engaged, get married, have babies, buy houses, build families. And meanwhile, you're sitting there thinking, God, when is it going to be my turn? And if you've been hurt before, it gets even harder because now you're not just waiting on love, you're waiting on healthy love. And the wait on healthy love can be very, very, very tiring. You're waiting on someone who is emotionally available, someone who respects you, someone who honors God, someone who doesn't make you question where you stand, someone who doesn't require you to abandon yourself just to keep them. And sometimes you do wonder, does that person even exist? I think about it all the time. Like, is my person there? Especially when you've experienced relationships that made you question your worth. You start wondering if maybe you should settle. I settled so many times in my life. And I look back like, Carenna, you should have set firm boundaries. But you live and you learn. And whatever you went through in your life and you didn't like, use it as a lesson. Allow it to be a testimony. And sometimes you think that you should compromise. Maybe you should accept the bare minimum because at least it's something. But baby, something is not always better than nothing. Sometimes nothing is actually protection. Sometimes being single is not punishment. Sometimes being single is the space where God teaches you how to stop accepting what you prayed to be delivered from. Woo, that's powerful. I need somebody to hear this today. I didn't create this episode just because. I haven't recorded since February, but something was on my heart saying I need to talk about this because I feel like a lot of people are getting weary and they're waiting. And sometimes we're so desperate to stop waiting that we become willing to walk back into what God brought us out of. And I would rather wait on something healthy than rush into something familiar. Because familiar doesn't always mean good. Sometimes familiar just means comfortable. And God may be trying to introduce you to a version of yourself that no longer fits in the relationships you used to tolerate. Sometimes when I get bored, I'm not going to lie, I begin thinking about the past. I begin thinking about hitting up that familiar person. But all of the pain that I went through, all of the hurt, the healing process that I endured, it's just not going to go in vain. So I feel like if you are in a situation where you're on your healing journey, you've been hurt by somebody, and you're getting lonely, and you're getting weary, and you're wondering, God, where is my partner? Where is my partner? Stay the course, stay patient, and know that God is creating that person specifically for you. And when that person comes, it will be well worth it. See, sometimes we got to make sure that we are okay. We don't need to go in relationships unhealed. Shouldn't anyone have to heal us but God and ourselves? When you meet your significant other, you both will be healed and you both will be able to flourish together. Now, let's talk about career because maybe you've been working, you've been showing up, you've been doing everything you're supposed to do, and you're looking around thinking, is this really where I'm supposed to be? I know that kind of hit many of us. Maybe you thought you would be further by now. Maybe you thought you would have the title by now, the salary by now, the dream job by now, even the recognition by now. And you're watching people who started after you get opportunities before you. And if you're not careful, comparison will convince you that you're behind. But let me remind you of something. You are not behind just because your timeline looks different. Your journey is not late. Your journey is yours. And sometimes God would allow you to sit in a season longer than you expected because He is developing something in you that the next season is going to require. And that's character, discipline, patience, wisdom, confidence, discernment. Sometimes we're praying for the promotion while God is preparing us for the responsibility. And those are two different things. Because I don't want something that I'm not prepared to maintain. We can hope and wish for the greatness and the overflow. And when God gives it to us, we can fumble the bag. I don't just want the blessing, I want the capacity to carry the blessing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything God does is in divine order. So if He's delaying the promotion, if He's delaying the level up, it's because you're not prepared yet. And on to business. Oh, baby, this one can really test you Because when you have a dream inside of you, you can see it so clearly. My entrepreneurs, it's not easy building your own brand. It's not easy creating your own income. Some weeks you're busy, some weeks you're slow, some weeks you have nothing. And you can see the brand. You can see how huge it's going to be. You can see the impact. You can see the rooms you'll walk into. You can see the people you're going to help. You can see the book. You can see the podcast. You can see the business. You can see the ministry. But then reality hits. The views aren't coming. The sales aren't coming. The followers aren't growing the way you thought they would. You're putting in the work and you're wondering, is anybody even paying attention? And that's when discouragement starts whispering, maybe you should quit. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you missed God. Maybe it's never going to happen. But listen, a slow season does not automatically mean a dead season. Sometimes things are growing underneath the surface because Lord Jesus, this is deep. This is real deep. Mm. And I'm talking to myself right now, y'all. I'm talking to myself because I've been in this season where I feel like things are not moving. When all when in all actuality it is. Like I'm reaping the seeds that I've sown, but in my head I'm not moving fast enough. I know it's somebody out there. You're reaping the seeds that you've sown. You're not in the place that you used to be in. You're actually in a better place. You're in a place that you prayed to be in, but now you want to get further and you feel like you're still stuck. But you're not. You're not. Sometimes things are growing underneath the surface because you have to see evidence above the ground. Like I said, think about a seed. When you plant a seed, you don't look at the dirt the next morning and say, well, I guess nothing happened. You understand that something is happening beneath the surface. And maybe that's where you are, beneath the surface, being developed, being prepared, being strengthened, being positioned. And just because you can't see it yet doesn't mean God isn't doing it. And then there's life. We all go through life. Sometimes you're just waiting for life to feel normal, waiting for the bills to stop being stressful, waiting for the family situation to get better, waiting for your confidence to come back, waiting to feel like yourself again, waiting for the season of survival to finally become a season of thriving. And I think that's one of the hardest things about waiting because sometimes you don't even know exactly what you're waiting for. You just know, I don't want to feel like this anymore. You want peace, you want clarity, you want stability, you want joy. You want to wake up and not immediately feel overwhelmed. Who am I talking to today? I want you to know something. God has not forgotten about you. Your waiting season is not evidence that God has abandoned you. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial, and slow does not mean never. There's a scripture I love in Galatians 6:9. It says, and let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Due season, not your season, not my season, due season. And I think that's the part we struggle with because we want our season to be right now. We say, God, I'm ready. But God may be saying, I know you're ready for the outcome, but are you ready for everything that comes with it? Because sometimes we're asking God to change our circumstances when He's trying to change our capacity. We're asking him to move us when he's trying to mature us. We're asking him to open the door when he's trying to teach us how to walk through the door without losing ourselves. And let me tell you something else about waiting. Waiting will expose what you really believe. It's easy to say you trust God when everything is moving. Oh, that's a piece of cake. But what happens when nothing is moving? What happens when you pray and don't see an immediate answer? What happens when you do everything you know to do and still have to wait? That's where faith becomes more than a word. That's where faith becomes a lifestyle. Because faith says, God, I don't understand this season, but I trust you. God, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I trust your timing. God, I don't know what you're doing, but I believe you haven't forgotten me. And sometimes your prayer has to change from God, hurry up, to God, help me endure. Because maybe the miracle isn't just what you're waiting for. Maybe the miracle is who you're becoming while you wait. And I want to speak directly to the woman or man who feels like everybody else is moving forward. You scroll social media and everybody is announcing something. Engagements, new jobs, businesses, houses, vacations, pregnancies, promotions, new relationships. And you're sitting there thinking, God, when is it going to be my turn? Listen, stop measuring your life against somebody else's highlight reel. You don't know what they're dealing with behind that picture. You don't know what they cried about before they posted that announcement. You don't know what they had to sacrifice to get there. And more importantly, their blessing does not cancel yours. Somebody else's yes is not your no. Somebody else's timing is not proof that you're late. And somebody else's chapter does not mean yours is over. Now, does this mean we sit around and do nothing? Absolutely not. Waiting on God doesn't mean being passive. You can wait and work. You can wait and heal. You can wait and prepare. You can wait and learn. You can wait and build. You can wait and become. Don't let waiting become an excuse to stop living. Because sometimes we're so focused on what we're waiting for that we miss what's happening right now. This moment matters. This version of you matters. Your life right now matters. The small business matters. The little audience matters. The temporary job matters. The quiet season matters. The healing matters. The preparation, that matters too. You don't have to despise the process just because you're excited about the promise. And if you're tired today, I want you to rest, not quit. Rest. There's a difference between resting and giving up. Sometimes you don't even need a new plan. Sometimes you need to breathe. Sometimes you need to cry. I do that a lot. And I don't care who talk about me. I let it out, baby, because I feel so much better afterwards. Sometimes you need to step away from social media. Sometimes you need to stop comparing. We are stuck in a world of comparison. And I feel like that's the biggest thief. Sometimes you need to remind yourself, I'm doing the best I can with what I have right now. And then get back up because you don't have to sprint through your entire journey. Walk, crawl if you have to. Take one step, take one day, take one prayer. But don't give up on yourself in the middle of your becoming. And I want to leave you with this. Maybe the relationship hasn't happened yet. Maybe the career hasn't taken off yet. Maybe the business isn't where you want it to be yet. Maybe life doesn't look anything like you imagine it would be at this point. But yet does not mean never. And your not yet is not your no. So while you're waiting, don't forget to live. While you're waiting, don't forget to laugh. Don't forget to love yourself. Don't forget to serve. Don't forget to dream. Don't forget to pray. And most importantly, don't forget who God said you are. Because your identity cannot be attached to what you're waiting for. You're still worthy while you're waiting. You are still valuable while you're waiting. You're still chosen while you're waiting. You're still beautiful while you're waiting. You're still becoming while you're waiting. And God is still God while you're waiting. So if you needed a reminder today, let this be it. Don't confuse delay with denial. Don't confuse preparation with punishment. Don't confuse solitude with abandonment. And don't confuse a slow season with a wasted season. You may not understand the timing, but trust the one who holds the timing. And when you feel yourself getting weary, go back to Galatians 6:9. Let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So go, don't faint. Take your rest, have your moment, cry if you need to, reassess if you need to, change direction if God is leading you somewhere new. But don't quit just because the answer hasn't arrived yet. Because sometimes the waiting room is not where you're being held, it's where you're being prepared. And when your door opens, I pray you're ready to walk through it. Not desperate, not broken, not begging, but healed, whole, wise, confident, and knowing exactly who you are. And before I let you go, I want to leave you with something that I created for the person who is in a season of becoming. If you've been listening to this episode and thinking, wow, this is exactly where I am, I want to encourage you not just to listen to this conversation, but to do the work. That's why I created my Fierce and Flourishing Guided Journal. This is more than just a journal, it's a space for you to slow down, process what you're feeling, reflect on where you've been, and get intentional about where you're going. Because sometimes we spend so much time waiting for the next season that we forget to take care of the person who is currently living in this season. And I created this journal to help you do exactly that: to heal, to reflect, to grow, to pray, to dream again, and to remind yourself that you can be fierce and flourishing, even while you're still becoming. So if you're in a waiting season right now, whether you're waiting on love, waiting on your career, waiting on your business, waiting on your breakthrough, or simply trying to find yourself again, I want you to grab your Fierce and Flourishing Guided Journal. Take some time each day to sit with yourself, put your phone down, get quiet, write the things you don't always know how to say out loud, be honest with yourself, and most importantly, invite God into the process. Because your waiting season doesn't have to be an empty season. It could be a growing season. It can be a season where you finally meet yourself again. So if you're ready to stop just surviving your season and start intentionally becoming the woman God called you, the woman or man God called you to become, grab your Fierce and Flourishing Guided Journal. The link is available wherever you're watching or listening to this episode. You can go on Amazon.com and type in Fierce and Flourishing Guided Journal. This is your reminder. You don't have to have everything figured out to flourish. You just have to be willing to keep showing up, keep healing, keep growing, keep believing, and keep becoming. You are still fierce and flourishing. Now, this has been It Gets Real with Carenna. And remember, what God has for you won't require you to abandon who He called you to be just to get it. Keep going. Your story is still being written, and we are not done yet. I'll catch you on the next episode.